everyone, welcome to the top 10 list. Here's my top 10 worst movies of all time list. Okay, I had a recommendation to do this, and this was a hard list to do because I don't know what it means when you say a top 10 worst movies list. Is it my opinion of the worst movies of all time, or is it my least favorite movies of all time? I didn't really know, so I combined the both. My least favorites and the worst movies of all time. And I wrote down a bunch of them. I had like 50 of them all written down, and I came out with these 10 films. They're both the worst movies of all time and favorite movies of all time. So yeah, it's a combination of both. So yeah, here's my top 10 worst movies of all time list. And before top 10 list, you gotta have your honorable mentions. And my honorable mentions are Norm of the North. I just saw it a few weeks ago. It's that bad. It really is. Food Fight, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, Lost in Space, Bucky Larson, Born to be a Star, The Room, Birdemic, Samurai Cop, and Batman and Robin. All horrendous pile of asses. Just couldn't make the top 10 list, but what didn't make my top 10 was my number 10. And my number 10 is Plan 9 from Outer Space, directed by the one and only director of all time, Edward D. Wood Jr. Plan 9 from Outer Space is a horrendous pile of shit. I could have said Glenn or Glenda or Bride of the Monster, Bride of the Atom, Bride of the Monster. Both shitty movies, very iconic shitty movies. But this is the most iconic shitty movie. Everything about this movie is ridiculously stupid. Is it hilariously bad? Yeah, it sort of is. So is Batman and Robin, but Batman and Robin is more hilariously bad. This is more bad. This is very embarrassingly bad. And there's a reason why Edward D. Wood Jr. is the worst director of all time. It's because he gave us this pile of ass we call Plan 9 from Outer Space. Coming number 9 is Geely. Yes, I hate to bash Ben Affleck, because I love Ben Affleck. I can't wait for him to play Batman. Batfleck, it sounds awesome. It looks awesome. He looks great. And I like this movie's directed by Martin Brest. He's a great director. This movie is so bad. This is one of the worst comedies I've ever fucking seen. And I've seen some bad ones. Like, come on, Caddyshack 2, that's one of the worst things ever. But this is so insufferable. I saw this movie a few years ago. I've never seen it since. Even if it's on TV, I can't watch it to laugh at it because everything about this movie is ridiculous and stupid. Ben Affleck is the most unlikable douchebag in this movie. And Jennifer Lopez, this is when they were together, so they should have good chemistry. Their chemistry is god-awful, and they both are just awful. Everyone is unfunny. Al Pacino. Everyone is unfunny in this movie, and it's just ridiculous. And this is not the first time you're going to see Al Pacino pop in a comedy movie on this list. So yeah, Geely, one of the worst things I've ever seen, and it makes the number 9 spot. It's fucking terrible. Coming number 8 is Jack and Jill. I told you you'd see Al Pacino again. He's not big in this movie, but he's still in it, and it's ridiculous. This is Adam Sandler. It stars Adam Sandler and Adam Sandler. He plays Jack and Jill, and why does this movie exist? Who the fuck knows? Dennis Dukin, you just gotta get him work. He actually directed a good movie. Happy Gilmore is actually funny. Nothing else in his filmography is funny. This is one of the worst comedies I've ever seen. It's right there with Geely. I hate Adam Sandler comedies. I like a few of them. The Wedding Singer's funny. Happy Gilmore's funny. I love his dramatic movies like Punch Drunk Love, Reign Over Me. Adam Sandler can be talented. But when you watch Jack and Jill, you forget that he can be talented. You forget that he can be anything that is good. This is awful. When people were reading this script, did they actually think this sounded funny? It sounded good? Of course not. It's horrible. Every ounce of dialogue is mind-numbingly stupid and just irritating. If I ever have to see Adam Sandler dressed up as a fat chick and make him say, "You just want to play Twister with your sister," if I ever hear that or see that again, I'm going to take a gun and shoot myself in the face because it's fucking annoying and fucking awful. Fucking hate this movie. Fucking Jack and Jill. Fucking hate it. Coming number 7 is Dragon Ball Evolution. Yes, Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Z! Wait a minute, this is not Dragon Ball Z. This is the complete opposite. This is Dragon Ball Evolution. What is it? It's a live-action Dragon Ball Z movie, sort of. Goku is a teenager in high school? What? Does this make sense? Of course not. Nothing about this movie makes sense. James Wan, I know, not James Wan, not the director of Insidious and The Conjuring. This is the director of Final Destination. Not bad movies. James Wan can be a very talented guy, but this movie proves otherwise, because this movie is awful. I love Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z is one of my favorite animes of all time. I love it. I grew up with it. It has a lot of nostalgia. I have a lot of fond memories with Dragon Ball Z. I collected all the action figures. I love Dragon Ball Z. This movie just is a disgrace to Dragon Ball Z. This movie is nothing like Dragon Ball Z. This doesn't have any of the feels like Dragon Ball Z. It got nothing right. It got the characters' names right, which is more than I could say for other movies that will be appearing on this list, but there's nothing remotely interesting about this movie. There's nothing remotely good. The effects look like garbage. Nothing makes sense. The Kamehameha, it heals people. Apparently Goku was in high school and he had the hots for Chi-Chi. You know, in the show, Goku didn't know what a girl was, but apparently in this movie, he just wants to bang them. Piccolo, he's done horribly. He looks awful. James Marsters, I love James Marsters. Spike from Buffy, he's always been great. He's a good actor. He's actually okay in this movie, but that doesn't make a difference. This movie is poorly directed, poorly edited, poorly shot, and really poorly acted. Justin Chatwin, why would you get him? Of all the people you can get to play Goku, why did you get the kid from War of the Worlds? Seriously, who the fuck did the casting for this movie? But yeah, this movie is awful. If you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, this movie just shit on your childhood. And that's what it did. It shit all over my childhood. Coming number 6 is Battlefield Earth. Yes, before you could spell your name, John Travolta and Forrest Whitaker with dreadlocks. Why do we want to see that? You don't, because this movie is awful. This movie is one of the worst science fiction films I have ever witnessed, ever. It's based off a novel, I think, which I've never read, or have even heard of, and this movie, everything is done wrong. Even the fucking camera angles. The entire movie looks like it's crooked, feels like you're watching it like this. Hey, how's it going? Hey, spell your name. The story makes not a lick of sense. Nothing about this movie makes sense. And the biggest thing that doesn't make sense is why this movie was made. So yeah, Battlefield Earth, the worst. Coming number 5 is Glitter. Yes, Mariah Carey made a movie. Why? Who the fuck knows? I was gonna put Showgirls on here, but at least Showgirls, it's forgettable. Like, I don't remember Showgirls very much. I watched it once years ago. I completely forgot about it. All I know is Jessie from Saved by the Bell is in that movie, acting like Jessie from Saved by the Bell. You know, terrible acting. She's always been a terrible actress. But Glitter has always stuck with me. I saw this movie when it came out on DVD. We rented it at Blockbuster. I've only seen it once, and it stuck with me. It still, to this day, sticks with me. Just, it's so ugly and heinous and awful. It's so dirty when I even think about it. How bad this movie is just disgusting. This, you may think, oh, women can still like it. No, women cannot like it. Nobody can like Glitter. It's the worst movie ever. I hate this movie. Coming number 4 is I Know Who Killed Me. It's Lindsay Lohan and I Know Who Killed Me. Okay, I will say this. Lindsay Lohan can be a good actress. I like some movies she's in. I love The Parent Trap. Parent Trap is a great movie. And I love Freaky Friday. Freaky Friday is another great movie. And Mean Girls. I love Mean Girls. Lindsay Lohan's a great actress, and she's played in a lot of great movies. This is the worst pile of shit she's ever done. This is awful. This is like a sort of like a horror thriller kind of movie, and it's done wrong. Everything about this movie is wrong. The cinematography, the score, the editing, the performances, the intensity, the atmosphere, everything about this movie is done wrong. And it's just irritating watching this movie. This movie pisses me off. Every time I watch this movie, I'm like, no, that's done wrong. No, that is done wrong. That is done wrong. Nothing remotely good about this movie. This movie is the worst psychological thriller I've ever seen. That's saying a lot because I've seen a lot of bad thrillers, but this is the worst. It's bad. Coming number 3 is Spice World. Nothing against the Spice Girls. I have nothing against the Spice Girls. I even enjoy a couple songs. A couple, not a lot, but it's like I enjoy a few NSYNC and Backstreet Boy songs. A couple, not a lot. I have nothing against the Spice Girls. They're great girls, great singers. This movie is awful. Just awful. When I was a kid, my least favorite movie of all time was always Spice World. If anyone asked me when I was younger, when I was into movies, if anyone asked, what's your favorite movie, I always said Raiders or Star Wars, Empire. Those were always my favorite movies when I was a kid. But if someone ever asked me, what is your least favorite movie of all time, I always said Spice World. This was always my least favorite movie. I always thought, even when I was a kid, I thought this was the worst pile of ass ever. But as the years came by, 2 movies beat it out at the #1 spot, but it gets the bronze medal of shit. This is the worst. This is the worst movie I've ever seen that is about music. The Spice Girls, like I said, they're good singers, they're good entertainers. They're horrible actresses, and this movie should have never existed. Fuck this movie. Coming number 2 is Jaws 4: The Revenge. Okay, Jaws 3D is bad. It's really bad. Jaws 2 is just forgettable. It's okay. Like, there's some parts that are okay. Roy Schneider's in it. He's fine. Jaws 1 is an amazing movie. Amazing movie. Like, Steven Spielberg did a fantastic job. It mastered the point of view shots. It made you afraid to go in the water. This movie didn't at all. This movie actually took away the greatness of Jaws. And I'm not saying it made Jaws 1 a worse movie. I'm just saying it took away the fear. Because this movie is the least scariest movie I've ever seen. Like, there's nothing about this movie that's scary. And the fact that this is a Jaws sequel, and I'm not afraid of sharks anymore because I watched this movie, it took away the fear I had from the first one. It didn't take away how amazing the movie is. Nothing could ever do that. It's a well-directed, well-crafted, well-acted film, and there's still scenes in that movie that get me. That scene when Roy Schneider and the shark comes up behind him still gives me, like, the holy shit. There's a lot of things in that movie that are amazing, and no movies can take away from that. But it took away the fear a little bit, because I know what sharks look like when they're not scary. I watched Jaws 4. So because I watched Jaws 4, Jaws 1 was less scary, and that pisses me off. That really fucking pisses me off, because I love Jaws so much. And the fact that this movie almost ruined the Jaws movies for me is an insult, because Jaws 3D is stupid. And Jaws 2 is nothing that great. But they never really killed the franchise. This movie did. This movie is pissed me off. This movie pisses me off more than any movie except my number 1. But Jaws 4 is terrible. It's hilariously bad because they kill the shark by just blowing it up for no reason, and the shark follows them on vacation. Like, what? And that's when Michael Caine was like, oh shit. It's funny, but this movie is a disgrace. This movie is a middle finger to Jaws movies and to Jaws fans. This movie is horrendous. This is the worst movie I have ever seen, other than my number 1, but this could have been my number 1. I was actually debating if this should be my number 1, because there's nothing good about this movie. There's nothing remotely good about this movie. If you could name one good thing about this movie, I will give you a round of applause, but it can't be hilariously bad. I mean, it's actually a good thing. There's nothing good about this movie. It's awful. It's my second least favorite movie of all time, and it's the number 2 of the worst movies of all time. Fuck Jaws 4. And the number 1 worst movie of all time is The Last Airbender. Okay, I am going to make this clear. I do not have a hatred for M. Night Shyamalan. I know a lot of people have commented down below and say, oh, you hate M. Night Shyamalan, you're an M. Night Shyamalan hater. I am not an M. Night Shyamalan hater. I dislike a lot of his work, like, you know, The Happening and The Village and Lady in the Water. But mostly my dislike for him, I don't hate him, I just have some dislike towards him, is because of this movie. This movie is undeniably bad. Like, this movie is not just awful, it ruined my favorite cartoon of all time. My favorite cartoon is Avatar: The Last Airbender, and this movie is an insult to that. If you're trying to make a live-action version of something I truly love, you better make it good, or at least okay, or even watchable. This movie is none of that. The action is the worst. The bending takes forever. The performances are beyond bland. All the characters are beyond one note. They didn't even get the names right. All the names of the characters are all said wrong. It's Aang. Iroh, it's Iroh. Katara, it's Katara. Everything about this movie was awful. The bending was awful. The plot holes are way too noticeable. The execution is way off. The writing is so bad. There's just so much exposition. If you've seen the show, the exposition in this movie is fucking torturous. You're like, can we just get to the bending and get to some character development and some interesting character interactions? You know, Avatar was also a funny show, you know. Not just a bland, boring movie. Like, come on, people. This movie is horrible. This movie pisses me off more than any movie in the history of cinema. It really does. This is not hilariously bad. This is not a guilty pleasure. It is none of that. This movie is the definition of shit. This is the movie I picture in the toilet bowl when I take a dump. That's right. I hate this movie so freaking much. Everything about this movie, I hate. The Last Airbender is the worst movie of all time. So yeah, that was my list of the top 10 worst movies of all time in my opinion. So yeah, in the comment section below, please tell me, did you get this list? If not, give me your top 10 least favorite movies or worst movies of all time. Comment below and let me know. And as long as you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel and join the dark side.